Hey guys, welcome back. Another episode of Coffee and Cannoli. Now that the show officially has a name, I'm back once again with Caps. And once again, we're going to be discussing another wrestling topic. This time, it's kind of a part two to what we did on the last episode. This is still going with the theme of wrestling documentaries, but we're going to do our favorite episodes of Dark Side of the Ring with season 3 just dropping last week. We're going to get through and our thoughts on the last couple seasons and some of our favorite episodes from there. So, Nick, Caps, you want to get started on your first? We'll start with season 1. Some of our highlights from the first season.
Strong season. I mean, there are like stories that me and you probably may have heard of already. The Montreal Screwjob, I've heard that story hundreds of times.
And we touched up on that in the Wrestling with Shadows one last week too.
Yeah, I mean, the only difference between this episode and every other story that we've heard before is probably at the end when Jim Cornette is revealed to be the guy that pitched the idea
of the screw job.
Yeah, but he kind of didn't want to take credit for it.
No, I can't blame him, right? We can't blame him for that. Yeah. One of the highlights for me too was the Macho Man, the tragedy of Randy Savage and Miss Elizabeth there. How like on screen they were still together, but in life they were already separated. The fact that he was extremely jealous of her, and the fact that he didn't want her around, like he didn't want anybody around her, like especially when Hogan came into the picture, he got extremely jealous. Like there was the Mega Maniacs, their tag team, wasn't it? And the Mega Powers. The Mega Powers, right? And it was due to the fact that he was jealous of Miss Elizabeth that's why the team imploded on itself, and they never met the heights they could have because of the fact that his jealousy got in the way. And then, you know, like we touched up on the last episode too, the fact that like he re-meets his high school sweetheart, they get married, and just like not long after that, the heart attack and the car crash, and he passes away. And it's just such a sad, tragic story of Randy Savage.
Yeah. I know A&E are putting out their own sort of biographies on certain wrestlers, and Macho Man was one of them.
Yeah.
For me personally, I can't watch some of those biographies because they are WWE influenced.
Yes.
And when they're putting their 2 cents, I just don't want to end up watching a documentary similar to the self-destruction of the Ultimate Warrior.
Yeah.
You know, where they just like badmouth the guy. And
they wanted to bury him. That's all it was, right?
Yeah.
And for the longest time, Warrior held a grudge against them.
Absolutely, because of that. Yeah. But maybe I'll go ahead and maybe take a look at it, see how it is. One of my friends said it was really, really well done, but they bury him.
Savage?
I think in the second portion of the documentary. Anyway, going back to
the guy's not around to defend himself anymore.
Exactly.
Yeah, I have to go back and watch them. I really want to watch the Piper one.
Yeah. There's the Hidden Treasures one. It's pretty cool. I'm not sure if you heard of that, where they go back and ask some of these wrestlers to retrieve some of their old items.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay, I gotta check that out.
One of them had Taker, and he whipped out his purple jacket from like the mid '90s, which was pretty cool.
Yeah.
Sorry. Got sidetracked for a second there.
No worries.
Going back to Dark Side, in terms of season 1, in my opinion, I thought the best episode was Bruiser Brody's.
I agree with that one 100%. Like Bruiser Brody is someone that people may not be too familiar with because he never had that stint in WWE, but he was a talent that is criminally underrated.
Yeah. That whole chilling story when Tony Atlas was talking about what happened in the locker room and how the whole thing developed and transpired, and just you would think the locker room would be some sort of a sanctuary for some of these guys, for the wrestlers. But
yeah,
it's just a chilling story to see a wrestler stab another wrestler to death in the locker room.
Allegedly, Carlos Colon was the one that perpetrated, allegedly, because there's no proof, obviously, like you can't place blame if we don't know where it goes. But yeah, apparently, allegedly, Cologne was the one that orchestrated the whole thing because Brody was getting over and he didn't want Brody to get over in Costa Rica or wherever was it Costa Rica? Yeah.
I think so.
Yeah.
Oh my God. I think it was Costa Rica.
Yeah.
But I also heard the other story where Bruiser Brody was going to get involved in sort of owning a territory, and
it was going to infringe. Yeah.
Yeah, it was going to be like one of those. I think one from Costa Rica or something like that. But I think the guy that stabbed him was going a little crazy because not long before that, his youngest daughter drowned, and he was starting to lose it a little bit.
And he was going through some mental trauma.
Yeah, and I think Carlos Colon kind of like egged him on a little bit, kind of pushed him to.
Brody, and the thing is, Brody was such an influence in a lot of people's styles right now. The one who passed away back in December, Brody Lee, Luke Harper in the WWE, you could heavily see the Bruiser Brody influence in him, like right down to the beard and the way he acted and the way his mannerisms in the ring. Someone like Daniel Bryan, when he wears the fuzzy slip cover, the shin guards. That's another tribute to Brody, right? Like it's his influence is there, but it's not as well pronounced, I guess. So Brody is definitely one of the ones. Another one for me, tragically, is the Von Erich story.
Mm-hmm.
How this family had it all. Like they were such talented people. They basically owned world class in Texas, and it was like that was their territory. They were the hottest baby faces. Carrie Von Erich, like people might be familiar with him as the Texas Tornado, and lost his leg in I think it was a motorcycle accident, and he was still able to carry on the way he did. And it's like the tragedy of the Von Erichs with drugs and accidents and everything. It's just a string of bad luck after bad luck that happened to the Von Erichs. That's another one that really got to me was the Von Erich story.
Yep. Yeah, that's all for me and for season 1. Want to move on to season 2?
Well, I just want to touch on one more thing. Was the Fabulous Moolah episode 2, which I had no idea that Moolah controlled all the women that she did and took a cut of their pay. That one was a little shocking to me.
Yeah. I never knew that she was so ruthless. But yeah. I mean, there were a couple of women on that episode said that, this is all BS and all that stuff. And she treated me with respect, but then it was an overwhelmingly amount of women that said that she was ruthless, and I think she had some of them sleep with some of the wrestlers or promoters or something like that.
With the promoters to get on the card and stuff like that, or that apparently like the whole thing with keeping them in the barn kind of thing. And that was short. I was very shocked because like Moolah from the 80s was an icon, and people even remember her from like the Attitude Era with her and Mae Young. They were like these crazy old ladies, right? That's all everybody remembers from the Attitude Era. But other than that, part 1, that's season 1 was a very solid episode, or a very solid season, and I like the way they started it off.
Yeah.
We can let's move on to season 2 then. So clearly, what's the top highlight for you of season 2?
Well, the way they started it out was a banger.
You can't get any darker than that. Yeah, you cannot get any darker than that.
It was a tough watch. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah.
I mean, when they actually talked about the weekend that he had, and that allegedly he killed his wife and son early on in the weekend, and then he went out and did some
chores. Ran errands.
And it's like it was just chilling. It was just,
Yeah.
I had goosebumps.
I got me too. I'm getting them right now as you're talking about it. Like just like when they described it in such detail too. I'm getting it now too. Like just thinking back to it now, the such detail that they put into it, like the exact method of how he did it with the weight machine and all that. Like it was
Yeah.
gruesome completely.
And he went home and he had a meal, and I think he worked out, and
Yeah.
it's like, and they're in the other room dead.
Dead. Yeah.
Oh man, it's like,
Yeah. It's it was bone chilling right down to it. If anybody's gonna go out and watch this, definitely watch the Benoit one if your stomach can handle it, because it's pretty graphic.
yeah.
But that was definitely like a dark one. On more lighthearted, I really enjoyed the one with New Jack's story about how he was a gangbanger and like.
Yeah, but even that one is like he almost killed someone.
No, he did
You know,
justifiable homicide. He had 4 counts, I think, of justifiable homicide. Like, yeah, there's a reason why they call the show Dark Side of the Ring.
yeah, I think like the overall that second season was friggin' dark.
Yeah.
Like,
Basically, Jimmy Snuka and the murder of was it Nancy Argentino? They talk about Jimmy Snuka murdering that woman, right?
Yeah.
There was that one, which they don't talk about. Like they don't even talk about. They even made his daughter change her. She just goes by Tamina. They don't even make reference to her father anymore.
Yeah.
Because they used to call her Tamina Snuka, but now it's just, and they don't say the Superfly off the top and anything like that.
Yeah. Supposedly, there was a meeting, and McMahon was in the meeting, and he was paying off the cops to hide Jimmy Snuka's murder.
Yeah, to cover it up. Like it's amazing what money can do, but like that one was a crazy one. Yeah. Definitely was a crazy one. Yeah. Sorry.
Dino Bravo.
Yes.
The story about Dino Bravo was one of my favorites.
That was same here. That was out of all of them, I think that one was probably the top 2.
You know what probably would have made it better?
If it was actually solved?
Not only that, no, but if they would have had Rick Martel, because he was one of the few that actually knows the whole story, and they had to take a clip from an old shoot interview.
Yeah,
and
he won't do an interview. There is so much going on behind the scenes with that people are afraid to talk.
You would think, like, what is it now? 30 years later,
yeah,
like you would think that like it's okay to say something like now because it's, but yeah, it seems as though people are still afraid to talk, and feel bad for the daughter and the wife, man. I think they were the ones that discovered him, no?
They were the ones. I think it was the daughter that discovered him, yeah.
Oh, man.
Can you imagine finding your father like that? That's like, apparently, like, I mean, allegedly, this is all speculation. There's no fact here, but apparently they're saying allegedly it was a mob hit.
Mm-hmm.
Because Dino Bravo, Italian descent, right? He was Montreal, an Italian Quebec, or whatever you want to call it. It's prevalent, and they're saying that he may have owed them some money, either gambling debts or something that could have led up to it. But nobody knows, like you said, other than Rick Martel, nobody knows the true story behind this one.
Yeah, and I think they shot him like 7 times. Like,
yeah. Like, and the thing is, that's another one. No, like chills again, but there was no forced entry, so he knew the people coming in, right? So he let them in because there was no forced entry. He knew who they were.
Yeah, and he probably thought that he wasn't going to get killed or something like that. It was just another meeting or something.
And to this day, like you said, 30 years later, that's still not just in wrestling, but that's one of the most crazy unsolved mysteries, period.
Yes. Yeah. The next one's going to be tough.
Which one?
Owen.
Yeah. Owen was another one. The Harts, like I said, and it's always with the Canadians, right? Benoit, Bravo, Owen, right? It's always these tragic stories. Owen is another one, was such a great talent. I would say technically, him and Bret were almost, I would say, almost equal. Technically, I think Bret had a little bit more advantage technically. He was a little bit more technically sound, but Owen had all the charisma.
And Owen was a bit of a high flyer too.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but he had that charisma. He connected with the audience. Owen connected in the audience with the audience more as a heel. Like, I mean, I remember that feud him and Hart had, right, back in the early days, and it was like you really hated him at that point. Like, it was like, because Bret Hart was like, especially Hart was like this Canadian icon. It's like, how can you do that to your own brother? And like, it was a great feud. And the tragedy leading up to his, that's another one that you'll never know the whole story about, that Owen death.
Yeah. I mean, going back to what you were saying, he was so hated. That's a testament to him.
Yeah.
And you know, behind the scenes, he was so well liked.
Everybody loved him.
Yeah. Maybe with the exception of Austin, because he dropped him on his head. But,
on screen. But Austin and Owen, Austin got over it and they became really good friends.
Did they?
Yes.
Okay.
Supposedly, rumor has it is, but after Owen passed away, Austin started drinking 2 cans of beer and cheering them together, one for Owen. A rumor, right? But that I don't know 100%. I don't never talked to Steve Austin, so I don't know. But after I did notice that after Owen passed, instead of opening 1, he used to open 2 and cheer them together.
Okay.
So they did become friends eventually. Like, it hit, because like, I mean, you have to, even if you don't like each other, you have to respect each other to have such fantastic matches that they had.
Yeah, no, I just remember him being very, very upset with them because supposedly he never called them to check up on him to see how he was doing after it happened.
I think it was more out of guilt, maybe. I'm not trying to defend the guy, but like, I mean, he probably felt so guilty that he couldn't face him.
Maybe. I do remember Bret saying something about that. He should have called him to see how he was doing.
Yeah. I remember. I remember watching that pay-per-view live too.
I don't remember seeing that pay-per-view live. I think I was. You know what? I think I might have seen that pay-per-view live.
I think it was 99.
I just don't remember. It was 99. It was Over the Edge, I believe. It was
over the. I think. Yeah.
But we were watching at some bar or something like that, and I think, you know, I do remember it panned to the crowd. Like, I remember the interview, and then it panned to the crowd, and it's like, what the hell's going on?
And then right after that, I think they went to Jim Ross.
Yeah, they went to Jim Ross. And I just remember it was just Jim Ross and no Jerry Lawler. He seemed to have disappeared for a little while.
I think Jerry went with Owen.
Yeah, I wanted to check up on him.
But I remember Jim Ross saying, like, you know, there's been an accident. Like, he never said Owen passed away. They didn't mention it until after. Like, it was halfway through the show before they mentioned that Owen Hart had passed away from his injuries.
Yeah, I do recall Jim Ross saying this is not your typical storyline, and you know, stuff like that. It's like, which made me believe, okay, this is pretty serious.
Yeah.
But I never thought that he would have passed away or died.
Yeah.
I thought maybe he landed a ring and he was like seriously hurt.
Career over kind of thing.
Yeah. But I never would have thought that, could you imagine, like, I mean, if he would have landed in the
30,
middle
40,
of the ring, like, he probably he might have survived, but just the fact that he hit the turnbuckle, I believe.
And I think he snapped his neck, right?
He snapped his neck.
Yeah. So a couple more feet over, he may have just gotten away with a broken back or something.
Yeah.
Or broken hip or ribs.
Supposedly, he almost landed on a referee too.
Was it Corderas?
Yes.
Yeah, because Corderas talks about that a lot.
Yep.
Shout out to Jimmy Corderas, local guy.
Oh yeah, is he Canadian? Yeah,
he's from Toronto.
Good.
From the Danforth.
But going back to the actual episode, when first of all, I couldn't believe that they actually got the wife on.
Yeah, because she hates doing interviews, but she will never allow Owen in the Hall of Fame for that.
Yeah. but when she whipped out the clip,
Yeah.
man, I was like, that's crazy. I couldn't, maybe for legal reasons, because she headed the case against the WWE.
Yeah,
She
there was
probably
that
needed to
class
keep
action.
all the items, but
Yeah.
I just couldn't believe that she still kept it.
Yeah, that's like, I mean, and now like they had the interview, I think, with was his son, who looks exactly like him now.
Okay.
Have,
Oj, I think his name
yeah,
is.
something like that. Yeah.
Oh,
And to this day, like you still see like some of the wrestlers today are still influenced by it because Kevin Steen, his real name, he named his son Owen after Owen Hart, and he took
oh,
the
really?
name, yeah, and he took the name Owens, Kevin Owens in WWE as a tribute to Owen Hart.
That's crazy. Didn't know
Yeah.
that.
So it's amazing how his influence is still felt today.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? That's a legacy, and what could have been. Like I know when after Bret left, like everything happened within the span of a couple of years. Bret left, Pillman died, Bulldog died, Jim Neidhart kind of like disappeared for a little bit,
Mm-hmm.
right? Like, so he was left in the WWE by himself. So if you can't bury the rest of the Hearts, you're going to bury Owen. And that's how he kind of got stuck with the, teaming with Jarrett, the whole like the Blue Blazer gimmick. He was doing like the whole thing with the Blue Blazer. But the talent that Owen had, this guy should have been challenging for world championships with Austin and The Rock. He could have been up there with them, I think.
Yeah. I read somewhere that he wasn't too into the huge stardom thing, like being a huge star, and
Yeah.
just wanted to go there, make his money, and then go home. And I heard somewhere that he wanted to be a firefighter afterwards because he wanted to just retire from wrestling.
Interesting.
And he had just built a huge house, and that they were moving into it. And then, like, just before they moved into it, this happened. And yeah, I just remember that he did not want to be in the business that long because he
He
didn't
wanted to
want.
get out early.
He wanted to get out early and be there for his family and all that stuff. So he was a
Yeah.
huge family man.
He was, yes.
Yeah. But in terms of, it was just probably like just Shawn Michaels and Triple H keeping him down, and
Yeah.
after that stuff, even though they speak so highly of him, I think underneath it all, they kind of like just shove him to the side and be like, this
Yeah.
guy's not main event material. But
Yeah.
that's just my opinion.
I kind of see that too, because like D-Generation X at the time, they were running everything at the time. Like it was all, they were like, other like in the WWF at the time, they were the biggest faction there was. It was DX on one side and you had the NWO on the other. And I think what made DX, I think, last a little longer, be more, I guess, appreciated than the NWO was DX never went more than like 4 or 5 members, and they went out at the top. Whereas the NWO, just like towards the end, it was like 90% of the roster is NWO. Sorry?
It's like 30 members.
Right, but it's like 90% of the roster. Well, we're NWO Wolfpack, and we're NWO Classic, and then they had the Latino World Order. Like it got a little too ridiculous. I get like you had the hottest property in wrestling, and then you just squandered it.
Yep.
They should have gone out at the top. They should have had like, in me personally, this is fantasy booking. When they had Hogan versus Nash with the famous finger poke, it shouldn't have been that. It should have been a match to finally end the feud and dissolve the NWO.
Yeah, I could see that. But I wouldn't have minded if they had a red and black versus a white and black, and just see how that transpires a little bit. But it's just a total debacle of a booking, and Hogan's politics and all that stuff. I mean, yeah, I see where you're coming from.
Yeah, but
I just personally was never a fan of DX. Never. Never.
They were like, I didn't mind them after, when it was just like, I mean, I liked Road Dogg and Mr. Ass there, Billy Gunn. I liked them as a tag team. They were funny, but they didn't really mesh well together when they joined DX. Like, I mean, they had a couple good skits, like when they invaded the arena for WCW there in the tank. Like, but other than that, like, especially the second iteration of DX, when it was older Shawn Michaels and older Triple H, like in the, I guess, mid to late 2000s, that to me did not work. But DX was basically just an answer to the NWO.
Yeah. Some of the mannerisms were pretty much the same too, like the whole chop, the cross chop.
Yeah, the crotch chop, yeah.
The whole this, and I think they were doing that a little bit too.
Yeah.
But whatever iteration there was of DX, whether it was just Triple H and Shawn Michaels the first time around, Triple H led, or their second run with Triple H and Shawn Michaels just wasn't happening for me.
I think what it was the fact that you knew Shawn Michaels basically controlled the company because he was their top star. So Vince would listen to whatever Shawn Michaels said because he had Triple H with him, who was married to the daughter of McMahon. So you know they're going to book themselves in a prime spot. You know they're going to like bury all this talent. Like, it was basically like, who can we bury to get ourselves over? You know what I mean? Like, I feel DX never gave young talent a chance.
Yeah, and I think Triple H is very well known for that, especially during his run as world champ. Which
he was concerned about. Yeah, he was concerned about beating Ric Flair's world championship record, right?
Yeah, and that was pretty much right around the time where I couldn't watch Raw.
Same here.
Could not watch Raw.
Yeah.
SmackDown I'll occasionally tune into because I was such a huge fan of Taker, and but the overall product and the quality of the wrestling was much better.
It was more of the workers show, whereas Raw was just storylines.
Yeah,
which is still to this day.
Well, Raw sucks now.
Yeah, especially the fact that it's 3 hours.
Yeah, it's horrible. I haven't. I'll occasionally tune into SmackDown every once in a while, but I haven't watched a full show in a long, long time.
It's hard. It's really, really hard. I'll watch the pay-per-views when they're on, and I'll tune into SmackDown. I'll watch NXT, but which, go back to Triple H. The irony there, he used to bury all this young talent, and now he's trying to promote all this young talent.
Yeah. I'll always get together with some buddies and watch the Royal Rumble or WrestleMania.
The big shows.
The big shows.
Yeah.
But to watch a full episode of Raw, I just can't. I can't.
To be honest, you only need to watch in the US on Hulu. They have just snippets, so they condense it. They condense it to an hour. That's what you could watch because it's too long and they repeat too many things. Like, here's what happened in the first hour, and then in the third hour, let's go back and tell you what happened in the first hour. Yes, we get it. If we're watching the show, we remembered what happened. It's not like you got to remind us every time. And I think they focus too heavy on their 3 or 4 stars, and they don't give a chance to any of the younger guys.
Yep.
Like, I notice it's all with Raw. It's always New Day and Charlotte Flair. Always.
Yeah. 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 I don't know.
It's basically all they are. And Drew McIntyre and Bobby Lashley. Like, that feud's been going on for the last year and a half.
Oh, okay. Honestly, I have not watched Raw in a while.
I haven't, and it's like I said, it's hard. I'll PVR it and then watch it the next day, just so I can fast forward through all the things they're repeating, right? All the reiterations. But it's, like I said, it's hard. It is. It's very hard to watch. The only thing I can watch live and watch straight through the product is AEW.
Okay.
because they're that you have young talent getting over. You have like they do more, I guess, with their talent. The promos are a little bit are unscripted, right? Or they can get away with more unscripted stuff. Whereas WWE, Vince has to like he'll throw away the show 10 minutes before it airs and rewrite it.
Yeah, but the only problem with AEW, in my opinion, is that there's just like I saw one episode not too long ago. There's so many factions.
Yeah.
I don't think that's a good idea to have so many factions. It's just
they do a lot of 6-8 man tag matches and
but like I do remember like Orange Cassidy was getting like a huge push and then that just stopped. I think that has a lot to do with the fact that
Jericho put him but Jericho put him over huge.
I couldn't take a friggin' what was it, a leg drag or whatever the frig it was.
The schoolboy.
Yeah, I was like, come on, man, you're Jericho. But then again, the guy's like almost 49 years old, and
I
was like, okay, I'll go
give
easy
it to
on
him.
And then you could actually hear him telling Cassie, "Do it again, do it again."
Yeah.
So it doesn't look like it's an accident.
Yeah,
smart guy.
He is. Like, I mean, Jericho is so like I would say he's probably one of the best guys in the last 20 years. Just him, the way he reinvents himself all the time.
But that has a lot to do with like what he's done in the last few years, has added to his legacy and put him in that elite class with like everybody else. The fact that he's still going and he's probably like giving some of the best promos of his whole career. But that has a lot to do with the fact that he is part of a group that can improv a lot of these promos, where a lot of this stuff in WWE is just scripted. And I really do think, and I think we touched on this before, if given a chance, I think some of these WWE guys can probably give some decent promos if they're given a chance to, do their own stuff.
Absolutely. I agree. Like, I mean, you have Adam Cole in NXT, who's a great promo. Kevin Owens, Sami Zayn, these guys were promo guys in ROH. And now they're being scripted, and you can see basically how these characters have been neutered.
Yep.
But, I had my fun before. Now I need to make money to provide for my family, right? Like I can't be doing, right?
They're kind of stuck.
Yeah, so they can't really do much at this point. But like, I mean, like someone like Sami Zayn, I think he's being wasted on SmackDown. Like,
I did read somewhere that he's sort of given a little bit of freedom on his promos and stuff. I could be wrong, but he's doing some pretty cool stuff though. Like
the whole conspiracy. I like that.
I heard that's actually part of his real life personality that he's actually
he is a conspiracy theorist. But I kind of like I mean, I think SmackDown has the in-ring the better, still always will have the better in-ring talent.
Well, a show that has Cesaro on it's going to probably have better ring.
I mean, you have Cesaro, you have Nakamura. Who was probably one of the greatest charismatic talents in New Japan, and he can't let that shine for some reason. They won't let him.
Yeah, I don't know. But, Roman Reigns can work, eh?
Yeah. Now that he has a little bit of freedom and he has Paul Heyman in his corner, like, I mean, Paul, this is probably Roman's best work since joining after post-Shield, I guess.
Yeah. I think he was probably the one that initiated being a bad guy.
Yeah.
Which is a smart thing to do. That's just like, of course.
Yeah, that launched Rock's career. Why can't it launch his?
Exactly.
Because Rock, when he was still Rocky Maivia, everyone was like the die Rocky die chant, but then he joined the Nation and became heel, right? And that's really when he developed the Rock persona, right?
Yeah. But, if he's not getting the response that he's supposed to be getting, then turn him. Like, McMahon should know that. You know what I mean? It doesn't matter if you want him to be his biggest star. He can still do it. Just, do it as a heel. You know what I mean? As long as you're bringing in money. But I don't know.
Like, I mean, Steve Austin, arguably one of their biggest quote unquote heels in the company, look how well he connected with the fans. Like, he was so good at being a heel that the crowd turned to babyface.
Yeah, and it was organic. It was, it wasn't
natural.
forced.
Yeah. I mean, we knew Roman could work though because of his family legacy, right? Like, I mean, that legacy goes a long way, and he has the talent and he has the potential. And now with that, I think that guidance and that leadership of Paul Heyman behind him, it's really showing. And I like this whole like Samoan dynasty that they're starting with the Usos and Roman Reigns.
Yeah,
So,
they can have their own faction, and
yeah,
probably Tamina will probably join
right.
at some point.
At some point, join up, like have Tamina and Neidhart, the two biggest names in the wrestling world, like Harts and the Anoa'i family, like joining forces together.
Yeah, I'm not sure if I could see Neidhart part of that group. It's a possibility.
Yeah.
I mean, I could probably see maybe Tamina turning on Neidhart just to go join the group, maybe at some point.
Yeah.
But
fantasy booking
not a bad idea.
Yeah, fantasy booking here. Vince, give us a call.
There you go. We can actually write up some pretty good storylines.
Yeah, but going back to our topic though, going back to what episodes are you looking forward to in season 3?
Did you watch the first episode yet?
No, I have not. I'm waiting. I usually like to binge them, so I'm waiting for because it leaked online, didn't it?
It did.
Yeah.
It was a good episode.
Yeah.
Pillman was a good episode. I'm not going to say anything, but it was a good episode.
Yeah. There's the Pillman. I think they're going to be doing one on Ric Flair.
I know they're going to do one on Warrior.
Yeah.
Oh man, I should have wrote this down.
Yeah.
But they're going to be delving into a lot of hardcore stuff. I do recall that. I know that they're going to do like 2 promotions that were just all about the hardcore stuff, and those I'm not really into. It's really hard for me to watch the gruesomeness of
those death matches. I'm not a fan of the death. Like you see some of the guys on like the independent circuit, and their matches are just barbed wire and fluorescent tubes. There's no talent. I don't want to say there's no talent, but there's no technical ability there. You're just beating each other up with weapons, right? Yeah. I'd rather watch, like you said, someone like Cesaro. When Cesaro and Daniel Bryan are having a match, I'm watching that because it's going to be a good, technically sound match with great storytelling.
Yeah. I know they're going to do an episode with Jake the Snake and his father.
Yeah, we touched on that one in the last episode too.
Yeah.
So it's they're scheduled for what, 10 episodes this season again?
Oh, I don't remember. I know there's one episode that was on there that looked so cool, but I just can't remember. It's not coming to me right now. The Pillman one's pretty darn good.
Yeah,
I gotta say.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to season 3. It's going to be an interesting one. Like I said, I like to binge it, so I'm probably waiting. Probably wait another week or so until the next one is out, and then watch the 2 Pillman ones back to back.
Yep. So, it'll be a fun time for you.
Yeah, it'll be good. I'm looking forward to it. So yeah, good stuff, man. So before we go off, want to touch up on, we were talking about this earlier offline. We were talking about who would be on your Mount Rushmore of pro wrestling. It's hard to pick 4, so let's go with 6.
Oh, 6?
Or did you narrow it down?
I had 5.
You had 5? Okay, perfect. Let's go with 5 then. I can do 5.
Bret Hart, Undertaker, Rock, Austin, and Hogan. But Hogan is like, he's gone off the rails a little bit.
Yeah, he's gone a little.
Those stories that he's been telling are complete BS. So he's in and out of that top 5 list. And when I feel like he's really gone off the rails, and I'm just sick of what he's saying, Razor Ramon would go in, because I thought he was like my favorite character. But yeah.
I went a little different. I went a little older, like not much older, but I mean, I'm putting Ric Flair on mine. I put Ric Flair, and instead of Hogan, I put Savage.
Okay.
Growing up, like for me, Savage with his promos and just his charisma and his charm, like I gravitated towards Savage. Savage was always my guy.
Yeah.
Like the memorabilia in my house, it's all like any wrestling memorabilia, 90% of it is Savage.
No,
So
he was one of the best.
yeah. Hart's on that list for sure. Bret Hart is on that list. And I would, for me, I would also I would put Rock or Austin. That's kind of hard because they were both at the same time, and to have both, to have two huge talents like that come out at the same time, it's so hard. So I would put Rock and Austin on there as well. And what's really hard for me is I'm not putting Piper on there.
Yeah. Yeah. If we're gonna have a top 6, I'd probably throw Andre on there. Andre the Giant. Because I just never realized how good of a worker he was. And then I would go back and watch some of his matches, and this guy's really, really damn good, man.
Yeah.
But my argument towards Ric Flair, why I wouldn't have him on my list, is that when I watch one Ric Flair match, just one, I feel like I've watched them all.
I agree.
You know? But he is hilarious. Great entertainer, one of the best promos.
Yeah.
But that's pretty like that's just my argument. I'm not saying my argument is correct or I'm right.
No. It's personal opinion, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
For me, I think more Ric Flair of what he did for the business, as opposed to his matches or his ability or anything. I think what Ric Flair did, Vince takes a lot of credit for bringing wrestling to the masses, but Ric Flair traveled all across the US with that belt, having match after match after match, to the point where like there's that whole incident where he wasn't involved in the plane crash with all the heels, and he walked away from the plane crash just so they wouldn't break kayfabe. You know what I mean? Like, I can't be seen with all the bad guys or else they're going to know something's up. It's going to expose the business. You know what I mean? So for me, I think that's why I had to put Flair on there. It's not because, like I said, it's more what he did for the business to keep that illusion going, I guess.
Yeah.
And you needed somebody for
the whole Hart thing.
Yeah. Sorry,
go ahead.
No, I'm saying,
go ahead.
It's about, and like without Flair, you wouldn't have Dusty. Without Flair, you wouldn't have Steamboat. Without Flair, you wouldn't have I would say even Hogan.
I was going to say Sting.
Yeah, without Flair, you're not having Sting either, right? So he was so influential and so detrimental to all these talents that came out after him that it's kind of hard for me personally to leave him out. Like you said, though, it's just a matter of opinion, right?
Yeah. Definitely Hart needs to be on there.
Yeah.
When I'm watching a Bret Hart match, I'm not watching him perform. I'm watching him actually wrestle.
But tell a story.
He's telling a story, and it's like, oh shit, that looked like it hurt. You know what I mean? Like when I see Bret Hart taking a bump, it's like, damn, that's gonna hurt.
Yeah, he sells really, really well.
Yeah. But Taker,
I mean,
he's something, man. Like I thought the Taker that came out during his second Dead Man run,
right?
Like 06, 07, 08.
Post American Badass.
Yeah, it was probably like his best matches. And this guy is like in his 40s.
Yeah, at the time.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And probably in the best shape
at the time,
of his career.
For me, I didn't put Taker on there only because he held on to it a little too long for me.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like he just like up until a couple of years ago, like it just, the mystique had gone by that point. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like when he first came out, like everybody was like, oh my God, who's the Dead Man and stuff like that. And then when he brought in that, like it kind of got silly with the whole ministry for me when he had the whole Ministry of Darkness. And then he went to like the American Badass Taker. And I get it. He wanted to do something a little different. And when he came back as the Dead Man, it was impactful. But, you know, only having a match once a year, at that point, you're just a filler to me. You know what I mean? I think after he lost to Brock at WrestleMania 30, I think that's when he should have called it a career.
Yeah. I probably would argue after the match with Bray Wyatt, it's like, okay, that's it, because it was a pretty decent match.
Yeah, and he got the win back.
Yeah, that had a lot to do with Bray Wyatt, I have to say. But but at least he was able to retire on a high note with AJ. Those are pretty cool.
Yeah, more cinematic. I wouldn't call it a match, but it was. I like the concept of it. If they need to, I wouldn't mind seeing more of those.
Yeah, I mean, they had to work around his limitations,
right? And that was a great way to hide it.
Yeah. Right. So leaving a high note. Rock, 1998, 1999.
Yeah.
Was like the shit.
Yeah, he was as the young kids like to say, he was lit.
You know what I mean? Like, like when you started seeing all these promos and all these catchphrases started developing, that was the coolest.
There was
it kind of got a little old afterwards.
But you could really start to see that when he was doing the Rock and Sock connection, where Mick Foley was doing the "This Is Your Life" segment, and
those are absolutely fantastic.
That was peak Rock, and you can see why he's had the success he's had in Hollywood. It's just the charisma that he has, and he's just a likable guy.
But he puts in the work, man. He puts in the work, and that's why he's getting the notoriety, I guess, or when he's one of the biggest stars in Hollywood. I mean, that has So, I would say before, when he was just a wrestler, he probably wasn't recognized as one of the greats. But I think because he made it so big in Hollywood, he's now being considered as one of the greats because he's just a huge star.
He is.
So,
but I mean, his in-ring work was never bad either. He could wrestle.
No, he could wrestle.
He could wrestle. So he had, like you said, Rock and Austin coming at the same time was so rare that you usually have that your one big star that is your big baby face and you feed everybody to. But here you had these two huge stars, like every other year they're main eventing WrestleMania.
Unless Triple H is having an ego issue and he wants to main
take
event.
Over again.
But my only argument with Rock is that someone needs to teach him how to properly put on the sharpshooter.
Yes. Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, it looks a little loose when he puts it on, as opposed to when you see someone like Cesaro use it.
Yeah. But that's it, man. That's pretty much it for me.
Cool. All right. So on that note, guys, thanks for joining us again. Remember to like, comment, subscribe. If you want to see more of these, let us know. Nick, I'm going to leave your latest episode of Five for Talking down in the bio as well. Do you want to give that a plug? Do you have a new one coming out soon?
I think we're going to be talking about the playoffs soon. Come catch us on that channel. Me and Johnny Donuts always make fun of Campos. Always a good time. We
put him back in his place.
Put him back in his place. When we have to sometimes. He gets a little out of hand.
He's the Triple H of our show.
He is the Triple H, and we're the Rock in Austin. You know what I mean?
Right.
But come check us out. And once again, thanks for having me on this channel.
For sure, no problem. We'll do it again soon for sure. We'll have you on more often. Well, pretty much every episode I'll have you on if I can.
Cool.
If you can. All right, man. All right, guys. Thanks again for joining us. Remember to like, comment, subscribe, and we'll see you soon. Thanks.